Well, let's quickly move on to the spotlight session. Ladies and gentlemen, this is led by Mr. Monojit Mazumdar, who is the partner at Deloitte India, and he's going to take us through the topic, delivering a smarter supply chain powered by cloud. Everybody, a big hand once again for Mr. Monojit Mazumdar, delivering a smarter supply chain powered by cloud. Sir, the stage is all yours. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me know if I don't have the mic. I can speak louder to wake all of you up. So I'm here to talk for next 10, 12 odd minutes to describe to you a fascinating journey I have been a part of. I have the experience of seeing my client transforming their supply chain, in some cases through a series of problems that we jointly tackled and managed together. When you hear about a story, the story is not always a great story. It's often a story of going through the humps and hollows and then coming back up. We had our share of that, and I'm happy to share some of the mistakes that we made in part of the journey and how we came out of it. Now, there are some fascinating data points, which is why I have my phone on, because I don't want to mess up on those data points. My client, which is a consumer business client, operates on around 190 countries. That's not the important point. The important point is the flagship market for them is actually India. The innovations that we do, the products that we bring, and the optimization that we have offered, majority of them are led by India. They operate around 400 brands. The most fascinating statistics is their suppliers. We have 56,300 suppliers supplying various stuff to this organization. These suppliers reside in 150 different countries, and the total supply chain spend for this particular client globally is an astonishing $32.5 billion on a turnover which is close to $200 billion. You can see the scale, but let me talk to you about the problems. These organizations, like any other multiple country, multiple culture, and multiple market strategy, have invested in a computing landscape which looks like, for the lack of a better word, stovepipe. Stovepipe, as you would understand, or pipeline grid, is a cross set of pipes going in cross purpose in various directions. They have a central ERP, which has got 4 instances, but they have got 4 different applications on an average doing the same thing for different parts of their market. There's a forecasting system for India on one platform to make it better, operating on one cloud. And then there's this same forecasting platform doing the forecasting for another market on another cloud on a different platform. I'm not going to talk about the complexity, because if I start talking about it, the points will be lost. I'm just going to talk about 4 key points that we have here. What did we do and how cloud has helped us here? The first of these 4 points is quality of the goods. This company produces what we all use on a day-to-day basis, what we consume almost on a daily basis. Thereby, the consumer perception is formed by a small lack of quality in a negative way. They are absolutely paranoid about the quality of what they produce. Just to again give you a number, they produce around 300 mega factories, but just to make the changing interest of the consumer, they also have a concept of micro factories. A micro factory is a concept which literally can be assembled on a garage and can actually be taken down at a short notice if the product is not successful. The first one uses an extremely great set of technologies. You have automation, you have robotic processes, you have data assimilation on mega factories to do everything that you do state of the art. The second one is built and destroyed on speed. And you have to maintain quality across all of this. The solution that we had as our challenge is how to actually integrate all these applications for a system that not only manufactures in-house, but also uses 30% of its application as an outsourced supplier ecosystem, meaning a third-party producer is doing all this of all this complexity. The paramount important factor here is to maintain the supplier quality. Now, supplier quality is a topic in itself. Again, we can spend next half an hour on that. The problem that we have with the supplier quality is any supplier scorecard requires a significant assimilation of following data points. It requires you to look at your in-house system to measure the on-time, on-quality performance delivery for all your suppliers. It also requires you to embed significant amount of external data for you to get that external view of the same supplier. How's their financial standing? Whom all are they supplying on? Is there any quality issue in the ecosystem? Are they resilient enough financially to take care of this entire system? All of that is in the play. Using a cloud system and several notches here and back and forth for across the country, the problem that we use to solve is integration of this data. Now, when we talk of integration of the data, usually the problem that gets highlighted is the factor integration itself. But the biggest issue is not integration, biggest issue is actually assimilation of this information. A particular supplier code in a Turkey system is abbreviated by AZPQB. The same suppliers in a Netherlands system has a different set of alphabets. How do you know and dedupe all the information, and if you have made a mistake, to get all of this together in a rapid scale? In good old days, for the relational database developers and experts on this room, we would literally write a procedural language, something that will literally run for months and go through multiple iterations to get what we call a data deduplication. In the system cloud that we used, and we use Microsoft Azure Cloud, this entire algorithm has to operate literally in hours to save money and all these things. That was the first fascinating learning on the quality side. Let me move on to the next point quickly on cost. The two biggest component of cost that any consumer business organization will pay is raw material, about 32% of the overall cost, and believe it or not, packaging, about 13% of the overall cost. Now you can look at all the glossy packages that you get on your biscuits, on your detergents, and they get savvier and more jazzy. You know why. However, packaging uses plastic. And my client has taken a resolution of using completely reusable plastic going forward down the line. Their entire supply chain cost is affected by the commodity pricing of two specific items. Palm oil, which is used as a detergent and as soap and other manufacturing product, health and personal care. If you go Google right now, the palm oil price in last 6 years have gone up by an astonishing 80%. They also use soybean oil for food manufacturing. The cost of soybean oil as a commodity has gone up by 75%. All of that has created significant downstream pressure on every component of pricing that we get to the consumer, and post-COVID, the consumer was not paying to more. So the decision and the challenge that we had on the cost side is how an impact of an external decision is simulated through an algorithm and a data and a process to go ahead and see the corresponding impact on two factors. One, how much are we going to price your product? Two, what discount can you pass on? Allied to that is a decision of what's going to be your packaging size and quantity. We used an algorithm which was again developed using one of the cloud solutions, and the beautiful thing about that solution is this algorithm was constantly iterated based on external factor. Drawing an analogy of pre-cloud days, if we had to do this, we'll develop an algorithm, we'll do it on a test data, we'll put it to market, couple of pilot markets, and then we'll roll it off if it doesn't work. Somebody made the point in earlier session of failing fast and waking up faster. Cloud solution helped us to make those errors and tweak those little elements to see what business decision we can make to help and enable our clients to get there. Allied to that is distribution cost. Distribution chains, as we all know, are changing with advent of technology. You have 5G coming in big time in India. You always had an RFID in place. Tagging and reading of the data was always a challenge. Distribution thereby fumbled from the problem of not capturing the data, but connecting that captured information together. In other words, you have to get the data from point T, connect it with point B, and get it onto point C before your truck reaches from point A to C. That was fundamental challenge. Using these solutions and a real-time data integration within cloud platform, which is closely integrated with your master data repository, with your application that you build out this set. We built a solution for an advanced market which had 5G already enabled to go ahead and see the chain of movement of a truck, the delay of a truck as the distribution is getting affected. Something that we see as a pervasive solution being brought in India as our highway monitoring system, as our infrastructure and capability of telecom network even gets better. This is the solution I'm most excited about to be applied on Indian context using cloud for our real-time decision making. The sheer fact that it can bring the transportation status closer to your supply chain is the single most determining factor that can change the way supply chain operates. Last and final, this particular company generates 659 tons of business waste every single year, just the waste. How do we go and behave responsibly to use and make people aware of this particular solution and reduce the waste is a motto of my organization client. They would really want to use a series of intervention on technology, such as a dashboard, which tells what exactly is going to happen with that particular waste, to talk about a zero plastic policy, how you can smartly source other raw material to get environment to the core and get this through. A fascinating journey, but the journey is that's barely over. We are working with them constantly to make all of this work, but we are also working with them to make one very fundamental shift the way they think about supply chain. The way they think about supply chain is a series of applications working together to make it happen. The way to look at supply chain in a changed cloud world is to use a keyword that is one particular powerful sentence called integration. Sum is not the sum of the parts, is much more value added out there. When you capture the data point of how your supplier is doing, when you use that for smart sourcing, when you take the same data to make your day-to-day decision based on commodity pricing, when you actually use that information to say what you should do and what you should not do in terms of selling to a market, and when you tell your sales and distribution network that this is the pricing that we are going to get as a result of this, the power is not the data itself. The power is entire assimilation. And that's the power we want to realize with cloud. We are thereby working with them to get 3 very key initiatives on place. Every decision that my client will make about creating a lesser impact on an R&D change, a product design that's going to get changed, a new product that you introduce in the marketplace, we will reduce the turnaround time of that product to market by a mere 5%. Just to put it in context, on the total sales value, for one market like Indonesia, if we can reduce the turnaround time of 5% across their SKU chain, the revenue impact on the top line is going to be $150 million direct saving. That's what volume does, that's what scale does to you. We will then look at it to see how we can actually do the classical adage of industry problem, how we reduce the demand and supply gap. A particular market looking for a particular product in a particular size. Let's talk India. We are in southern part of the country, rational people, everybody buys what they want. I live in Gurgaon, nobody buys what they want, they buy 2x of that. Size of the packet is what is your buying power is. If you go to eastern part of the country, there is a 5 rupee sachet of shampoo that still sells. That particular shampoo sachet will have no market in northern part of the country. What you actually buy is driven by market, but what you actually create to buy that is driven by organization. They shape up the demand. If we can actually use cloud to go ahead and reduce the time of an R&D, a research and development product coming into market, being tested, getting into the marketplace and getting tested for a pilot market, and eventually getting proliferated into the entire market, that's a clear win. Because not only will win from a winning product, but we will also take a losing product from the shelf faster. The cost of withdrawal of a product from marketplace, if you want to ask, talk any auto company, particularly Toyota, who has in the last 10 years gone through 16 painful recalls, literally taking money off their balance sheet, not P&L. I think this is what the true power of cloud is, and as a student of this particular profession, as somebody who will never profess myself to be an expert and continue to be learning mode, it's a fascinating journey. It's a journey that I think cloud can provide an assurance to all the points that were made in the previous panel of doing this resiliently, failing first and getting up first, and never get worried about increasing capacity because of an increasing search of business. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present my case.